Hey YouTube fam, welcome back, or welcome if this is our first time practicing together. I am a little extra excited about today's practice because it's something that I've been playing with in my own practice. It's a lot of things I've been playing with and sequences I've been creating and having a lot of fun with, and I wanted to share them with you all. So I'm looking forward to it. I hope you are too. It's going to be all sorts of funky and playful and movements around the mat. Feel free to have props nearby. I probably won't call them a ton, but you always have encouragement to use props when you find that they might be useful to fill space between a body part and the floor. And just a heads up that I have a yoga membership website where I upload 3 classes every single week at a minimum. Honestly, it's more than that, called the Cooldown. I'll put all the links in the things below, including a code to try it out. We would love to see you in there. It's truly a family in there. It's such a vibe. The community is so fun, and we hang out and chat in the comment sections and get to play and roll around on our mats and do spicy practices and mellow practices and yin practices and community chats and philosophy chats and all the things. I'm also hosting yoga teacher trainings all around the world. I have 200-hour trainings. I have my first 300-hour teacher training coming up, broken into 6 different modules. So some of them are online, some of them are in person. You can take them one module at a time, or you can go for the whole program. And then retreats coming up in Greece in September, as well as just launched Panama for March of 2025, all sorts of things. And before I talk anymore, just know that the links are below, and let's dive into movement. We're going to start seated on our shins, and if you need to sit onto a block or something to get cozy here, you can. We're not going to be here for long. But let the hands fall into the lap and close down the eyes. Tuning in to an inner space, so making that transition from the outer world to the inside, to the inner landscapes of you. And as you start to collect yourself here on your mat, all the layers of you, physical and energetic, can you take a deeper breath? In through the nose, feel the belly expand, the rib cage expand, the collarbones lift a little. And once you feel like you've met the top of your inhale, can you sip in just a little bit more, nudging the lungs full, and hold for 5, 4, 3, 2. Exhale through the mouth, let it go. Empty out all the way to the bottom, like really, really meet your capacity for empty, and hold that space. Probably a little more uncomfortable than holding the top. That's normal. Be here for 5, 4, 3, 2. Big inhale to the top. Open mouth, let it go. Big inhale to the top. As you do, scrunch your shoulders up to the ears, get tense in the muscles of the shoulders, maybe even the face, maybe even the jaw, maybe even clench the hands into fists here. And then as you exhale, let everything go. Know that you can be here for as long as you like, collecting yourself into the moment. And as you find yourself ready for movement, eyes can stay closed or they can open as you drop the chin into chest. Roll an ear over a shoulder. Drop the head back, the other ear over the other shoulder, and then the chin back in towards chest. So continue circling out to the right. And at some point, swap the direction of the circles. You can pause in any of the sticky spots and lean into them until they soften. Next time the chin is into the chest, pause there. Slide the hands towards the knees and round through the back body, tucking the tailbone up and in. And then as you slide the hands up the thighs, heels of the hands towards the hip bones, open the eyes, pull the heart through, chin lifts, gaze lifts. Think cat-cow on the spine as you exhale, round it out. And as you inhale, pull it through. Just one more time, exhale, round through the back body. Inhale, pull it through. Find a neutral spine, and as you do, shift onto the toes so we can get some sensation in the bottoms of the feet. If that's too much at any point, let it go. And then I want you to bring the hands up towards each other. Bring the insides of the wrists together. I want you to imagine you're wearing magnetic bracelets and you're not letting them pull apart. So roll the backs of the wrists onto each other, and then pull the fingers in towards the midline as you roll the outsides of the wrists together, and then the front, and then keep circling it around here. I'm just starting to get into the wrists, and simultaneously we've got a whole other situation happening for the feet. And if you bring your attention to the feet for a moment, can you see if you can get all 10 toes to touch the floor? Like even your pinky toe, can you root it into the mat, engage it into the floor? And then switch direction of these circles that are happening for the wrists. Let the pops and crackles happen as they will and as they do. And then as you're ready for it, shift forward, tabletop position, and as you get there, you can tap out the tops of the feet just for a moment. And then from here, circle out the wrists a bit. Rolling side, back, other side, forward, just rolling it around. Keeping the focus on the wrists to start. We'll get back into the spine in a moment. Switch direction of your circles. And then flip the hands so that the fingers point towards the knees and move through a couple cycles of cat-cow. Inhale to open up. Exhale to close it out. Inhale, open. Exhale, close. One more time, inhale. And out. Find neutral and either hold this space or a soft bend into the elbows and lift the knees into a reverse plank. As you land here, if you've lifted the knees, find just the littlest pulse forward and back. Get into the ankles. Get into the feet. Here for 10. Final 5, 4, 3, 2, soften the knees back down to the floor. Flip the fingers around so that they point back forward. And then now as you tuck onto the toes, lift the knees just to a hover above the mat. Think of squeezing the hands towards the feet and the feet towards the hands as you lift the right toes above the floor. You can stay here or left hand could tap the right shoulder. We're going to come back to this later in practice. So just a moment to bookmark the shape, come back through center and then swap it out. Left toes to a hover. Can stay here or right hand could tap left shoulder. Back through center once more each side. Right toes lift, maybe left hand at the same time. And then back through center, left toes lift, maybe right hand at the same time. Back through your floating tabletop, hold this space, lift the back of the heart a little higher, and then roll it up and back, downward facing dog. Pedal at the feet as you get here, bending into one knee, bending into the other knee, shift the hip side to side. Movement that feels good in the body here. And as you settle towards stillness, take a really big in-breath to the top, fill it up. Open mouth, maybe you stick the tongue out, lion's breath, exhale. Roll it forward, find your plank pose, a big wave up the back line of the body. Bend into the elbows, lower halfway. Press to the top plank pose, wave it back, downward facing. Let's do that 4 more times, roll it forward. Hold the top or bend and lower to the top and wave it back 3 more times. Find a rhythm to it as you roll forward. Lower half to the top and wave it back 2 more times. Forward, lower, top, and back. 1 more time, your own rhythm. Knowing that it's all always optional. And when you meet your downward dog, just start to crawl the feet, baby step the feet to the top of the mat. So eventually we land in a fold, but take your time getting there, kick through the heels along the way. And as you meet your fold, feet are hip width distance apart. Take as much of a bend in the knees as you need for the rib cage to meet the tops of the thighs. And then clasp opposite elbows and find a little bit of a sway left and right. Drop the weight of the head, maybe shake the head, yes, no. And release the fingertips down to the floor. As you inhale, roll your way to stand. Arms sweep up and over at the top. Bring the palms all the way to touch just for a moment. And then exhale, cactus out the elbows and open the heart. In breath, hands to sky. And exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift and lengthen. As you exhale, fold, plant the hands. Maybe you add on a crow pose. Again, just an option. Toes can stay on the floor or they could lift. Meet the shape just for a breath or two and then take it back through any vinyasa that you want to take along your way to a downward facing dog. As you take your next inhale, sweep the right toes high. Bend into the right knee and open up the hip, driving right knee towards the ceiling and squeeze heel into the glutes. Shift the right shoulder down. As you exhale, bring the right knee across the body towards the left elbow. Step the outside edge of the right foot off to the left side of the mat. Both hands stay planted to start. Think chaturanga in the arms as you bend the elbows lower half. Press back to the top, fallen star. Left foot spins flat. Left fingertips sweep up and over. Bend into the left knee, pull the hips back towards the left heel as left fingertips reach towards the top of the mat. Now I want you to ground into the outside edge of the right foot. We're gonna play here with, as you straighten out through the left leg, shifting weight into the right foot, pull the left knee up towards left armpit. You'll step the left foot to the top of the mat, but as you do, step the left foot wide towards the edge of the mat, so the left edge of the mat. Now as the left foot plants, step the right foot to the outside of the right hand, bend into both knees, active squat. So drive the knees wide, sit the hips low, and pull the shoulders back so they stack on top of hips. This first round is slow. We are gonna speed things up eventually. Pull the thumbs into the center of the palms, the other 4 fingers around the thumbs, and then roll the wrists around. Maybe you sink even a little bit lower. Are you gripping the floor with your toes? As you take your next exhale, palms to heart, straighten legs. Inhale, fingertips to sky. Exhale, back to your active squat. Now here's where we're gonna get funky with it, where we're gonna switch things up and do something new. We're gonna find our way out on the other side. So now as you plant the left hand to the floor, your left foot is gonna step over to the right. So outside edge of the left foot to the floor, right fingertip, sweep up and over. And now as you step, or pull the right knee up towards right armpit, step the right foot over to the back of the mat until you land in a fallen star. And then bend into the right knee, pull the hips back and sweep the right fingertips up and over. Okay, from this shape we open it all the way to a wild thing as you re-straighten through the right leg, plant the right hand to the mat, left toe slide from underneath and then open up behind you. Drive the hips high. Pull the shoulder blades together on the back body. And now as we come back through center, we're set up to go right to the other side. So as the left hand plants, pull the left knee across the body to the right elbow. Outside edge of the left foot to the floor. For this first round, we hold here for a moment and we bend into the elbows and lower halfway and hold for 5, 4, 3, 2. Press back to the top. Fallen star, right foot spins flat. Sweep the right fingertips up and over. Now as you bend into the right knee, pull the hips back and reach the right fingertips up and over. So think of this as kind of like winding up the shape. You're gonna, in a moment, shift your weight to the outside edge of the left foot. And as you straighten through the right leg, lift the right toes from the mat and pull the right knee up towards right armpit. Step the right foot up and over until it lands on the outside edge of the mat. And then left foot steps to the outside of the left hand, active squat, bend into the knees, sit low. We're gonna speed this up, just so you know. So it's gonna get flowy, get rhythmic. But first, be here, palms open up towards the sky, and then roll them down. And then open and close for 10. Remembering to breathe here. Final 5. As you straighten through the legs, bring palms to touch at the heart. Inhale, hands to sky. Gaze follows. Bend into the knees, sink low. Right hand to the floor. Outside edge of the right foot steps off to the left as the left fingertips sweep up and over. Now the left foot steps up and over to the back of the mat, fallen star. Bend into the left knee, pull the hips towards the left heel. And roll it all the way open towards your wild thing. So as the left hand plants, right toes come from underneath to behind and drive the hips up. Before we repeat, we're gonna roll through center into a plank pose. Take your time getting there. Wrists underneath the shoulders. Any vinyasa you wanna move through along your way to a downward facing dog. I will, of course, be cueing this and doing this with you, but if you need to slow it down or speed it up or find your own rhythm to it, you have full encouragement to do so. Inhale, sweep the right toes high. Exhale, right knee across the body, so the outside edge of the right foot to the floor. Go straight to your fallen star, left fingertips up and over. Left knee bends, pull the hips back. As you straighten through the left leg, step the left foot to the outside of the mat, and then right foot to the outside of the mat. Active squat, reach the fingertips forward. Straighten through the legs, hands to heart. In breath, hands to sky. Out breath, bend into the knees, sit low. Left hand to the floor. Step the left foot over to the right. Step the right foot up and over, fallen star, and as you do, bend into the right knee, pull the hips back. As you straighten right leg, circle both hands to the mat. Left toes come out over and behind, wild thing. And as you roll back through center, we're set up for the other side. Left hand plants, left foot comes across the body, fallen star, right fingertips up and over. Bend into the right knee, wind it up, pull the hips back. And as you shift weight into the left foot, step the right foot up and over to the outside of the mat. Left foot to the outside of the left hand, fingertips reach forward. Straighten through the legs, hands to heart. Fingertips to sky, gaze to follow. Bend into the knees, sit low. Right hand to the floor, step the right foot to the left side of the mat, left fingertips up and over. And then step the left toes to the back of the mat, fallen star. Bend into the left knee, pull the hips back. As you straighten through the left leg, circle hands to the mat, right toes come from underneath to behind, take it all the way to your wild thing. Right to the other side, right hand plants. Right knee across the body, set the outside edge of the right foot to the floor, left fingertips up and over. Bend into the left knee, pull it back. Shift to the outside edge of right foot, left foot steps to the left side of the mat, right foot to the right side of the mat, active squat. Hands to heart, come to stand. Fingertips to sky. As you bend into the knees, sit low. Left hand to the mat, outside edge of the left foot over to the right. Step it up and over, fallen star. Bend into the right knee, pull the hips back. As you circle the right hand back down, left toes come from underneath behind. Take it all the way to your wild thing, tap the left toes. And then continue the pattern, left hand to the mat, left knee across the body, outside edge of the left foot to the floor. Right hand up and over. Bend into the right knee, pull it back. Shift your weight to the outside edge of the left foot, right foot steps over. Left foot to the outside of the left hand, active squat, fingertips reach forward. Straighten through the legs, hands to heart. In breath, hands to sky. Out breath, bend into the knees, sit low. Right hand to the floor. Outside edge of the right foot steps to the left as the left toes step up and over. Bend into the left knee, pull the hips back. As you straighten through the left leg, left hand to the mat. Open it all the way to your wild thing, right toes behind you. One more time each side, right hand to the floor, find center. Right knee over to the left. Left fingertips to the sky. Bend into the left knee, pull the hips back. Step it all the way over, left foot forward. Right foot to the outside of the right hand. Fingertips reach forward. Straighten through the legs, hands to heart. In breath, hands to sky. Out breath, bend into the knees, sit low. Left hand to the mat. Outside edge of the left foot over to the right. Right fingertips up and over as you step it back, fallen star. Bend into the right knee, pull the hips back. As you roll through center, take it all the way to your wild thing. Left toes come from underneath to behind and drive the hips up. As you take your inhale from here, plank pose, find center. Pause. Let whatever just happened to be what it was. And then take a vinyasa. Any way you want to move it or skip it. We meet with the hips up and back, downward facing dog. Come onto toes, bend into knees, and as you exhale, step or hop feet to a passive squat wider than the hands at the top of the mat. Let the hips drop low. Backs of the hands to each other. And then open and close the hands in and out of fists a couple times. Just a little bit of wrist rehab. If this shape is a lot for the low back or the heel or the Achilles tendons, you could sit onto a block. Drive the knees wide, reach the crown of the head tall here for 5. Forward fold, lift the hips up. Crawl the feet in so that they're hip-width distance apart, and then now slide the palms under the feet so that the toes make their way all the way to the wrist creases. And in a moment, before we move into kind of our main sequence for practice, I'm going to break down the option that you'll have in our flow to hop switch the feet in the air. This is technically a handstand drill or training situation, but it doesn't have to be. The goal does not have to be handstand. It does not have to be balance. It can simply be getting your feet off the ground and shifting weight into the hands. So you have the option, first of all, of staying right here, taking a couple extra cycles of breath in this shape. Or, as you release the hands from underneath the feet, plant the hands out in front of you. And in front of you, however far they need to be, that you can get the palms really flat onto the mat. You can bend into the knees as you need. Lift a leg in the air, doesn't matter which leg for this drill. And as you shift weight into the hands and come onto the toes of the rooted leg, you'll bend into that knee. And as you hop off of that foot, you'll swap the feet in the air and land on the other foot. And as soon as the other foot lands, you'll pop off of it and swap it out. So just shifting side to side. Again, your goal here might not be handstand at all. You can keep the feet low to the ground and play with simply shifting the feet in the air without getting the hips all the way up, and that's totally fine. But play with a couple more. This will be integrated into our sequence, but it will absolutely be an option. So just so you have a heads up of where we're going. Final 5, 4, 3, 2, and as you're ready, come back to your forward fold. Let the upper body hang heavy. Maybe a little bounce here. Feeling into the elastic rebound. We'll meet in a down dog. If you wanted to throw in a handstand or a crow pose along the way, you could. All just options. You could vinyasa. You could skip it all. Child's pose, a great place to land for a breath or two. All right. Once you land in your down dog, it's an inhale to sweep the left toes high. The right toes high. It's an inhale to sweep the right toes high. And then as you bend into the left knee, you either have the option of hop switching the feet or of simply stepping the right foot all the way through. You'll get to the same place either way, but hop switching the feet and landing the right foot to the mat and the left toes back. Bend into both knees, double bent leg lunge. So if you're in the camp of like what just happened, we've landed with the right foot forward, the left foot back, both knees bent to a 90 degree. Palms come to touch with the heart. Tuck the tailbone down a lot. Maybe you sink the left knee a little lower. Now think goddess pose to the left. As you pivot the left knee open, sit low, tap both heels to the mat. And then as you pop up onto the right toes, right heel lifts, we pivot around, double bent leg lunge to the other side. Maybe you lean back a little. Think of that same like winding up of the shape. As you bring palms to touch at the heart, crouching warrior over the left leg, kick off of the right toes. So the spine comes parallel-ish to the mat, right leg parallel-ish to the mat. Maybe you bend a little deeper into the left knee. As you inhale, straighten the left leg, come all the way to stand, pull the right knee into chest. Straighten out the right leg, flex the right toes. Maybe you lift the right foot a little higher. Rebend into the right knee. Crouching warrior right back where we just came from. Right leg kicks back in space. Left knee is bent. Now we've been here. This will feel so familiar. Sweep the outside edge of the right foot off to the left side of the mat. Hands free for a moment to start. Maybe bend a little deeper into the left knee. And as you plant the right hand out in front of you, left foot steps up and over all the way to your fallen star. Left toes to the back of the mat. The now back of the mat. Bump the hips high. And as you sweep the left hand down to the floor, right toes come from underneath all the way behind until you open up into a wild thing. So you land in your wild thing, I want you to be in a shape where the left leg is long, extended, and the right knee is bent. And now with the legs in that orientation, drop the hips all the way to the floor. So left leg will be extended out long, right knee is bent, right foot is planted to the floor, and twist to the right. Left elbow, right knee, right fingertips plant behind you. Tall through the crown of the head, inhale. Twist a little deeper as you exhale. As you inhale, unravel the twist. You can stay right here. This might feel like a lot. Or you can plant into the right foot, throwing you into the fire here. Lift the left foot, cross the left ankle over the right. And then as you lean forward, can you come up to stand without the help of the hands? Or with the help of the hands? And then bend into the knees, drop the hips all the way down to the floor. Left leg straightens. If you want, you stay here or you lift the hips for a low pistol. Just options. Drop the hips back down. We get to come out the way that we came in. Wild thing. Circle the left hand to the mat. Drive the hips up and over. And now, I want your right foot to land by your left hand, but take your time getting there. Pull the right knee up towards the right elbow. Step the right foot all the way to what is now the top of your mat. And as the right foot plants, pivot all the way around to your Skandasana, hips to the left heel, right leg straight, right toes point up. I promised you all it would be a wild one. I did, I warned you. Keep the hips heavy, hands can be to the floor for support, or they can lift. Keep the hips as low as you can as you roll through center and right over to the other side. So hips on top of the right heel, left leg straight, left toes point up. Ready for a shape that might feel slightly more familiar if these past couple haven't. Warrior two, we're back to the top of the mat. Bend into the left knee. Fingertips reach in both directions. We're gonna hang out here for a couple cycles of breath. Left knee on top of left ankle, which might mean bending a little deeper into it. And think of a subtle twist of the heart to the right. As you inhale, reverse your warrior. Right hand slides down the back of the right leg. And as you exhale, hands to the floor, step it back to your plank pose. But as you do, left toes stay to a hover above the mat. Left toes to a hover. You can stay here or right hand could tap the left shoulder. You could stay here, or if you want to go crazy, left knee could tap the left elbow. All just options. Return to your plank shape. Right hand to the floor. Left toe step back. Vinyasa if you want it. Always welcome to skip it. We meet in a down dog. Okay, ready to do that whole thing on the other side. Let's start here with an in-breath. Fill it up. And an exhale, let it go. On your inhale, sweep the left toes high. Right knee bends. You either step the left foot through or you hop switch the feet in the air and land with the left foot forward, right toes back. Double bent leg lunge, right knee to a hover. Shoulders on top of hips, tuck the tailbone down. Bring palms to touch of the heart. Drive the right knee open to the right as you land the right heel, goddess pose. And then pop up onto the left toes, left heel lifts. Keep pivoting towards the right as you land double bent leg lunge, second side. Find that little bit of a lean back. And then as you shift your weight forward, keep the right knee bent, crouching warrior. So think warrior three, but right knee is bent. Maybe bend a little deeper in, sink low. And as you drive into the right heel, come all the way to stand, pull the left knee into the chest. Left thigh hugs up towards the left rib cage. Straighten through the left leg. Pull the left toes back towards you. Left foot lifts a little higher as you hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, left knee bends, and as the right knee bends, you kick it back, crouching warrior. Okay, last time here, left foot swings over to the right, so outside edge of the left foot to the floor, bend into the right knee, maybe find a little bit of a bounce to it to start. And as the left hand finds its way to the mat, right knee up towards right armpit, step it all the way over, fallen star, right foot to the now back of your mat. Circle the right hand to the floor. Left foot comes from underneath, all the way open to your wild thing. Left toes behind. Drive the hips up. Again, we've landed in a variation of wild thing where the right leg is straight, the left knee is bent. Right leg straight, left knee bent. And then from there, drop the hips down. So you're facing what was the top of your mat. Right leg is straight, left foot bent, and twist to the left. Left hand plants behind you. Right elbow, left knee. Exhales, twist you. As you inhale, unravel. Right leg lifts, and as you bend into the right knee, set the outside edge of the right foot to the floor. Find a little bit of a lean forward. You can use the hands for help or not. As you play with coming all the way to stand, drive the hips forward, tuck the tailbone down, and engage into the glutes. And then rebend into the knees, delivering hips back to the floor. Send the right leg back forward, keep it lifted. You can hold right here, or you could find that lean forward, and the effort is a lift. The lift may or may not happen, but the effort is there to find the lift. Also, the left heel could be on the floor or not. As you drop the hips back down to the mat, we come out the way that we came in. Wild thing, plant the right hand at the right hip. Drive the hips up towards the ceiling as you sweep the left fingertips up and over. The left foot is going to step its way all the way to the right hand. So left knee up towards left armpit, left foot steps its way all the way to the right hand, and then as soon as it lands, pivot to the right, Skandasana, hips to the right heel, left leg straight, left toes point up. Hands to floor for support or lifted as you need. Keep the hips low as you roll through center. And find the other side, hips all the way to the left. And then shift it forward, warrior two. Right foot plants, fingertips reach in both directions. Virabhadrasana 2. Take 2 more breaths here. As you take your next inhale, reverse your warrior, left hand, left thigh, right fingertips, up and over. And hands to the mat, frame out the right foot. As you step the right foot back, find your floating plank pose, right toes to a hover. Option to stay here or tap the left hand to the right shoulder. Option to stay here or to pull the right knee to the right elbow. And return to plank, left hand to the mat, right toes step back. Vinyasa, any way you want to move it or skip it. And we meet with the hips up and back. Landing in your downward dog. Come onto toes, bend into knees as you exhale, step, walk, hop, or maybe you handstand, make your way to the top of the mat. Find your fold. On an inhale, halfway lift and lengthen. Big exhale, fold and let it go. Come onto toes, send the hips to the heels. We're in this toes pose at the top of the mat. Lift the hands. You can come to the balls of the feet. We're gonna find our way in a moment, into a low boat pose. But I want you to really slow this process down. Like imagine I press the slow motion button on the remote. Can you send the hips towards the floor, the heels towards the floor? You might drive the knees wide to create space for the belly. And then as the hips meet the floor, lower all the way down. Low boat pose, heels and heart to a hover above the mat. Firing up the midline of the body. As you come up to your high boat, think of pulling the thighs towards the rib cage and the heels into the glutes, getting tall through the spine. We're going to plant the hands for a reverse table, but this reverse table, as you plant the feet to the floor, hands come behind you with the fingers pointing to the back of the mat. A little bit different than how I usually cue reverse table. We're going to use this in a minute. Drive through the heels and send the hips up. Reverse tabletop. Tap the hips to the floor and drive them up. Tap the hips and drive them high. 2 more times. Inhale. Exhale. 1 more time. Tap. And then lift. Hold the top for 5, 4, 3, 2. Drop the hips down to the floor, and as you crawl the feet a little wider, keep the bend into the knees, and I just want you to scoop the forearms underneath the backs of the knees. This might feel a little funky, but go with me here. And then bend into the knees until you've got kind of like a clasp of the forearms, and then roll out the wrists. Just circle them around. All right, let's come back to a high boat pose. Unravel the arms, shins parallel to the mat. We're gonna speed things up a little bit. We're gonna play a little bit more, and then we're gonna slow things way back down. Low boat pose, high boat pose, low boat pose, high boat. Find your low to high just for another 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, find the top. The next place we meet is a down dog. You might play with rolling into a crow pose or rolling into a handstand. Give yourself some playtime along the way if you want it. Child's pose, again, always an open invitation to be there. But if there's something you're playing with in your practice that you could take along the way to your down dog, go there. Adho Mukha Svanasana is where we meet. I've got one last little playful, funky, around the mat sort of transition for us. And then we slow things way down. Option to find child's pose to opt out at any point. Shift forward into a floating table, knees to hover above the floor, just an inch above the mat. Now lift the right toes and lift the left hand. We were just in a reverse table with our fingers pointed backwards. That's where we're headed here. Pull the right knee across the body, and as you pivot the left heel to the mat, left hand plants behind and drive the hips up. And once you've landed in your reverse table, we reverse that by lifting the right foot and the left hand, and then roll it back to your floating table. And then other side, left toes lift, right hand lifts, left knee across the body as you open it to your reverse table and drive the hips up. Left foot lifts, right hand lifts, roll it through, floating table. Let's go a couple more times. I'm going to speed it up, move at your own pace, right toes, left hand, and roll it open. Drive the hips up. Right toes, left hand, and close it out. Left toes, right hand, open up. Left toes, right hand, and close it out. Once more each side. Right foot, left hand. Right foot, left hand. Left foot, right hand. Last one, close it out. Left foot, right hand. Floating table. As you get here, pause. Soften the knees to the floor. Untuck the toes. Puppy pose, crawl it forward. And letting the chest be heavy towards the floor. The gaze might shift forward towards the thumbs. And as you take your next inhale, walk the hands back underneath the shoulders. Pop up onto fingertips so that the palms lift from the mat. And as you do, exhale, strong round through the back body. Cross the ankles. Sit the hips over the feet all the way to a Sukhasana. You might need to scoot forward on your mat. And then bring the hands to the knees, and I want you to think barrel rolls with the spine as you roll the heart forward, left, back, right, just rolling it around. Can you get the head and the neck involved? Switch the direction of your circle. Find center. Right hand grabs the left knee. Start by planting left fingertips behind and twisting left. So right hand is on the left knee. Left hand is behind you and your gaze is over the left shoulder. Now we're going to keep the right hand to the left knee, but unravel the twist and bring the left hand to the base of the skull. Left elbow points out. Right hand is still on the knee as you exhale, lean right. Think of pointing the left elbow up towards the ceiling, a really nice side body stretch for the left side. And then we swap it out, left hand to the right knee, right fingertips behind. Find your twist to start, tall through the spine, and then exhale to wrap lungs around the heart and shift your gaze over the right shoulder. keep the left hand to the right knee. As you unravel and bring right hand to the base of the skull. I know it's a lot of lefts and rights here, but it's worth it. I think this feels so good. Lean to the left. So right elbow is pointing up to the sky. And as you inhale, come back up tall through the spine. Unravel the arms. Keep the bend into the knees, but slide the feet out so that the heels are towards the edges of the mat. Toes are pointed up to the ceiling. Just want you to crawl the hands out in front of you here and find a little bit of a bounce. Getting into the hips and into the low back, but removing the intensity from the hamstrings and the adductors. A little bit of a bounce here for another 5. I promise we'll slide into the full pancake straddle fold in a moment, and it's going to feel extra good because you spent time here first. You can stay in the bounce, or you can slide the legs long, toes drive up towards the ceiling, and then whatever depth of the fold is there for you. So whether that's hands to the floor, forearms to the floor, you can also sit up onto a block or a bolster to get the hips up. That can feel supportive here. And as we spend time here, if more space opens up to you, you can sink into it, preferably on your exhales. And then let your inhale walk you back up through center. Bend into the knees, Baddha Konasana with the legs, but I want you to make your way all the way to the back body. So bottoms of the feet together, knees wide, and then roll to the back. Extend the arms out to a T. And find a little bit of a shift with the legs side to side. Just a little bit of a shimmy, left and right and left and right. Until eventually you settle into stillness. Slide the shoulder blades underneath you, like they could scoop up the back of the heart. Big inhale through the nose. Open mouth, let it go. And shifting into a texture of the practice that is more about stillness than it is about movement. But I think it's really interesting to find that even in the stillness, we can attune to the pulse, to the rhythm, to the movement that's happening even within it. And that even as we're moving, that there's an element of stillness available to us. There's a reciprocal relationship there at any point in time. But we give our attention and our awareness in this moment to finding pause, creating space to nourish, to recover, to rest, to fill the cup so that we get to go back out with resources to give. If you'd like to finish out practice here, you can, or you can simply slide the legs long, settling into a more traditional Shavasana. Of course, if there's any other wiggles or movements you'd like along the way, then take them. Take your time resting in Shavasana, and when you're ready to transition out, make it slow and sweet and gentle along the way. Thanks for sharing your practice and for showing up. I hope to move with you soon. Namaste.